Hello, welcome everyone. We're in another episode of Toolhouse Rock, powered by the Ecosystem Cluster. This is episode number 8 already, and today we're with the Govrn team. Before we get into them or the product, Toolhouse Rock is this kind of like space where we invite different teams or different protocols, products that are trying to serve DAOs or sub DAOs or anyone in the Web3 ecosystem. And the idea is that they share what they do, what they're trying to solve, the problems that they are addressing. And if anyone from the community is interested in actually interacting with them or reaching out, they can discover them and eventually make the space a better and more, I don't know if efficient is the right word, but yeah, a better place overall. Some disclaimers, our views are our own. So basically a lot of information is changing very rapidly. So if you're watching this video, I don't know when in the future, information might have changed by a lot. And this happens very, very often and quickly. So no financial advice, no legal advice, just information only. And before we dive deep into Govrn with the team here, I'm super happy to have Aaron and Stefan. But there's different scopes that that this might apply to, and we do believe that this might be most interesting for the ecosystem support scope. Well, the other four are there if you guys are interested in having deeper. And in terms of the improvement categories, we do think that this could relate more to collaboration, impact, or how these sub-DAOs are looking for actual impact, and of course, governance. And yeah, without further ado, Aaron, Stefan, thank you for being with us, and the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thanks. First of all, obviously, thanks for having us. Just gonna try to do this whole share screen thing. Can you guys see the slideshow? Okay, cool. Awesome. So again, thank you guys for having us. Super biased here, but we do think that Govrn's going to be really useful for the MakerDAO ecosystem, the MetaDAO, as a whole. I think it's going to be really useful, really effective, and kind of solving a lot of the current issues, making collaboration better, making coordination better. So it's really excited to jam with you guys. But yeah, let's get into it. So a lot of what we're thinking of with Govrn is in terms of, again, collaboration, transparency, reducing complexity, reducing opacity, and especially for MakerDAO, especially for the MetaDAO as a whole, we want to make the entire ecosystem more tangible. Tangible meaning you can actually perceive, grasp, and follow up with what's actually happening in the ecosystem, in these communities, in these sub-DAOs in real time. And that tangibility is something that is just really important, both for coordination, both for being able to have a kind of bottom-up interaction and bottom-up ecosystem. And yeah, we're going to do a demo later, which will show a lot of the moving parts and just explain the concepts in real time. So actually, let me reduce this a bit. Okay. So one of the biggest problems we know is that there's just a lack of visibility. There's a lot of complexity, and we want to reduce the complexity. We want to increase the transparency. And transparency is an interesting word, because a lot of times when people say, oh, there's no transparency, it's like the assumption can be, oh, there's something nefarious going on, or it's like on purpose. But a lot of the times it's just the fact that there are no real structures or no efficient structures to allow for proper transparency. So one of the biggest things that we want to bring to your ecosystem is being able to have transparency, being able to show the work that's happening and create that visibility. And a lot of times we talk about, I mean, the entire DAO space, sometimes we talk about attribution, but it's something that I don't think we talk about it enough. And and it really comes down to this question of, okay, what is actually, not just what is actually happening, but how is this work that's being done recognized? Like MakerDAO as a whole is so important to the industry, so important to the space. Y'all do so much important work, but who's actually acknowledging this work? How is this work being recognized? What is the attribution there? So say, for example, and even internally, say, for example, someone says they're going to do something and they end up not doing it, right? What that leads to is, if there's no transparency, if there's no direct attribution structure, then the rest of you, maybe it's in a sub DAO, the rest of you may not know that that work wasn't done, which leads to, later on, maybe you find out weeks later, and then you have to like backtrack and scramble to get the work done. Or maybe the opposite happens where someone does something, but nobody knows it happened. And then someone else is like, oh, wait, this work needs to be done. Let me go and do it. But it was already done. So then now you're doubling efforts, and that's just miscoordination. This is one of the prime coordination failure examples. So attribution is really important. Also direction, like being able to build an ecosystem, being able to build work off of the work that's already happened before is incredibly important. That's really how organizations thrive. That's how organizations evolve, by able to see the work that's actually been done and being able to put feedback on top of that or shift the direction because of that, to say, okay, this was really helpful. Let's double down on it. Or maybe we could do things a bit differently because this wasn't, this wasn't the best way that this could have happened. So let's shift and maybe push in a different direction. So there's so many different ways that an organization or the MetaDAO itself, or even just like a particular sub DAO, can evolve and grow and become more efficient, and of course more transparent, just through the contributions that are happening in real time. And even questions like, when a new person comes in, when you bring in a new recruit, what's the gap for them to get from new person that nobody really trusts or nobody understands how they work yet, to a trusted contributor? So all that comes from being able to have this tangibility, being able to have this visibility, being able to have this attribution. So again, all we really want to do is increase that transparency and reduce that complexity. So this is where we get into the solution being Govrn. Govrn is a contribution tracking platform. That's it. End of end of story. So it's a contribution tracking platform that really allows you to record your own work in a bottom-up way and create on-chain privilege from them. So what that means is, if you're recording your work and we allow you to mint your contributions on chain as well, and that creates composability, where you can actually build things on top of that work, build things on top of those contributions, whether that's, maybe specific rewards, maybe that's some type of value, maybe even some kind of governance. All that can be built upon this foundation of Govrn, or this foundation of contributions. And again, that allows you to make your work tangible, where people can actually, whether it's even just within a sub DAO or the wider ecosystem as a whole, where like someone come in and follow the work that's actually happening and build on top of it and say, okay, this is what's happening over here. Let's focus on that. There's so many different interactions can come from just having a foundation of contributions that is easily tangible, that is easily able to be perceived, able to be tracked, able to be followed. And underneath all that, because Govrn is both a platform and a protocol, what we're actually building out is this network graph of contributions. So a contribution graph that you'll actually be able to literally visualize the contributions that are happening. And maybe let's say the work you did in January directly led to this specific contribution that you're doing in June. You'll be able to see that as it evolves, basically these contribution chains that are happening real time. And even just in general, being able to visibly see what work that was done in 2021 and how that led to what's done in 2023, or even just having that record in general is such a game changer for an evolving institution. So I think the most important thing is that it's really easy to use, because we all understand getting people to use another tool, getting people to create new interactions on top of the work that they already have to do is really difficult and it's tough. So, I mean, for us, it's like, we really want to make sure using Govrn is as easy as possible. And when you all try it out, I would love to, hear feedback, say, okay, this is cool. This could be easier. I mean, our goal is to continually make it easier and easier. So a lot of things we're building out in the background that will continue to facilitate the use of Govrn in general. So for when you use Govrn, literally like 90% of the platform, like 90% of your interaction is just recording and minting your work on the platform. And once you've minted it, once you record it, you can attribute it to maybe a core unit or sub-DAO. And then once it's minted, other members can attest to your work. So you're recording your own work, and then other people are seeing that work being recorded, and they can say, oh, I know that Juan has done this, so I will attest to this. And you can actually build up your attestations as well. So interestingly enough, and I'll get more into the attestations part later. So, but your contribution, your basically your list of contributions kind of make up your reputation, but also your attestations also make up your reputation, because those are people pretty much co-signing your work and you co-signing other people's work. And that builds, again, this kind of bottom-up way and this decentralized way to interact with work, where it's not someone having to come and say, someone above you having to come and say, did you do this? Or if DAOs don't need managers, then we're doing something right. But again, that's like 90% of the interactions. It's incredibly simple. We'll see in a second, but that already creates so much coordination. And you're able to build out your own contribution graph and the community's contribution graph. So yeah, it is demo time. So let me just pull this up.
We love demos here.
We do.
Oops. All right, cool.
Stefan, I have a question before we dive into the
Sure.
demo. And I've seen this with the POAPs. For those that don't know, POAP is a proof of attendance, I think PA is for protocol, which is just like whenever you go to, I don't know, a conference or an event, you get like this NFT with a nice image. And for some weird reason, some people started farming them. And it's like, oh, even if I didn't go, I want the POAP. I want to have like thousands of POAPs. And
Right.
it's to the point where you're like, what? So with that in mind, I don't know if you guys thought about this, but would that be an issue where you have like, I don't know if it's called a civil attack, but it's like people attesting other people's work when actually either it didn't happen or it's not up to the quality. Have you guys given a thought to that? Or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, civil attacks is something we think a lot about, because I think overall with Govrn, we're not building for civil resistance. That's not what we're here for. But we do think these interactions can kind of bypass the civil problem. So say, for example, I'm creating my own contributions. Only I can do that. Only I can mint my own contribution NFT. And then with the attestations, so in the raw sense, like anyone within a community or anyone within a sub-DAO, for example, can see and attest to particular contributions. So let's say, Juan, you're trying to be sneaky and just attest to someone else's, attest to Catcher's things, even though you don't know if he did it or not. So there are a few things that kind of at least reduce the incentive for that. One, your name is attached to these, meaning that, or at least, your particular identity is attached to these. So then if problems come up, this is also your reputation, not directly reputation, but it is like, okay, why is Juan doing this? And then other people go like, Juan, what's going on, bro? You feeling okay? So there's that aspect, but there's also the aspect of, and we'll get into this on demo too. There's this aspect of verification where you can actually set where specific attestations have to happen. And what we'll also do, we don't have this yet, but we'll do this a little later, where we'll build this in a little later. That's another kind of verification framework where maybe, for example, specific people have to attest. But that's something we're experimenting with a lot, but we definitely think that these kind of basically checks and balances reduce the incentive for that. So I mean,
I was thinking of different mechanisms, like you could, I don't know, slash them, or if you have some power, or you personally can have your own personal kind of like graph with their weights. She's like, oh, I don't trust Aaron at all. So whatever he attested, it's like 0.1, and whatever true name attest is like, I don't know, 1.5. And then you can start playing with that. But yeah, I don't know, maybe we're going a little bit too far.
No, but that's something we've been thinking about as well. And it could just be really cool, honestly. And even before that, it's like, if you're looking at, because you'll be able to see the attestations as well that other people have put in. And you could say, oh, Aaron is the only one that's attested to this. I don't trust this. So they're different even before some of these get built in. There's already ways to kind of, at least in a social way, verify. But no, it's a really good question.
Yeah, no. So I'm wondering. So Aaron, I don't know if you can, I don't know, dive deeper in what you wrote in the chat, which is that POAP has a passive trust framework methodology, while Govrn has an active trust framework.
I can't see the chats.
Yeah, totally. And it's kind of exactly what Stefan was just saying. Is that with POAP, right? It's a lot more it's a lot more passive of a trust framework. That's like, I have like a whole bunch of POAPs and I just hand them out to everybody, right? And if someone starts trying to farm it, there's like very little recourse. Like, as the issuer of POAPs, there's like it's much more passive trust in terms of like, my reputation isn't on this. I can't retroactively go and fix things that I've done, right? It's just like, what if you trust the issue, like that's it. There's nothing else you can really do. With Govrn, it's a lot more active, right? It's reframed in two ways. One, with a POAP, someone else is coming and saying, here's a badge, you attended this event. With Govrn, it's saying like, I attended this event. And then other people come and attest and say, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So instead of one issuer, we've actually decentralized that issuer to say, now you have to have a whole bunch of people coming and attesting to your work, right? And you're actually able to get a lot more active in terms of who you trust as an issuer, who you trust as an attester, as well as the ability to slash them in the future, right? So for example, a way that you could combine, like if I put that on top of POAP, if we found that there are some POAP issuers that were consistently abusing, like they weren't doing good security checks on how they sent out their POAPs, POAP could say, hey, we're not going to let you issue any more POAPs, right? You're not doing this in a good way. That's the difference between moving it from passive to active. So there's a lot more like checks. We like have a lot more composability in place. And it's not to say the way POAP does it is wrong or right. It's much more understanding the use case. Exactly.
Yeah,
what's the use case? Yeah.
And is there any incentive for anyone doing the attestation? Like, do you get anything, or it's just you build the network and the reputation?
You can, right? So the way it's built is it's all composable. Like you can put, right? So you have a contribution graph, and then you can layer like infinite amounts of value graphs on top of that. Be like, hey, if you're a good attester, we're going to be giving you like X number of points or a Y number of USDC or dollars or DAI, right? If you're a bad one, we can slash you, right? For everyone you attest to, we'll give you like social reputation. Once it's become part of the graph, anything is possible, up to the community.
Nice. And I don't know if you want to go deeper on true names question. Can you whitelist addresses that have permission to attest different users and block any user that has not been pre-approved?
Yes, Stefan's actually going to dive into more details on that when we get to in the demo. So I'm going to hold off on that.
Yeah.
Perfect. I have a question about ZK governance. I don't know if I should shoot it now or wait for after the demo.
It's up to you. Maybe.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it's your presentation, so I'm happy to wait.
Actually, since it's ZK, let's do that one in the end, because I think we'll spend a lot of time on that one. Okay, cool. So yeah, this is Govrn. This is the first thing you see. I've already signed in, so I can actually go directly. I can go straight to my dashboard. And this is, before I even get into the specific DAOs or sub DAOs or communities that I'm a part of, this is the platform showing me how I work as a contributor. So what I can actually do, obviously we have a heat map where I can dive a little deeper into specific things depending on time, but I can also tweak a bit depending on date as well, as and not just that, but also again, like here's specific DAOs. I can do multiple. I can do like, oh, let's see what I did with Tree DAO. Shout out to Tree DAO. And this is where even before I really dive in, I can just, it gives me a bird's eye view of how I've been working. And then I can use that to kind of plan for the future and say, okay, maybe I want to focus a little more on Tree DAO kind of, for example, for next month. And so this is my dashboard. And actually, I'll jump ahead to the DAO dashboard, which I think will be most useful for the MakerDAO. And this is, say, for example, this could be MakerDAO as a whole. This could be one of the committees. This could be one of the sub DAOs where you're really diving into still a bird's eye view, but still also a deep dive into the work that's happening in real time. And again, and here it gives you a more robust heat map. You can see what the other contributors are doing as well. You have a few data points, and then you can also see the contributions by member. And let's do the last month. So I can kind of pick and choose what time scale I want to interact with as well. So let's say I just want to look at what's happening in the last month. I can look at the contributions by member. I can see who's doing the work. And then we'll get a little more into this later, but something we think a lot about is not just the raw, tasks that are happening or the raw contributions that are happening, but also the categorization of them. Because we think that becomes really useful for coordination. So you're kind of taking a step back and say, okay, this, and this is happening, but what category does that fall under? And then you're able to see, like, for example, just with on this dashboard, okay, maybe I'm looking to do, in a particular month, I'm looking to do a specific number of demos, right? And this could be easily for a sub DAO to be like, okay, this amount of demos are happening. We want to focus more on marketing. So maybe next month, we want to make sure that we get these numbers up as well. And you could focus on based on what the specific need is for a certain period of time, what the requirements are. Right. And then you could say, okay, partnerships, maybe partnerships aren't happening as much. So we want to maybe shift focus toward that. Or maybe as we recruit someone new, or we try to look for someone who can help us with partnerships. So just over time, and I can look at last quarter, maybe if we're going by quarter to quarter, I can say, okay, there are a lot more product demos that are happening in the last quarter. So we can continue on that path. And then at the same time, we can say, all right, going back to partnerships, we want to make sure that resources, whether that's time or manpower or whatever, is shifted towards that as well. Or even we can even reduce the amount of demos to focus more on partnerships. It just gives you a really easy way to interact with the work that's actually happened, and it helps you plan out for whatever the need is. Maybe you want to focus on what's happening the next month or the next quarter or even the next year. You could say like, okay, the next 6 months, we know what's happened in the last 6 months. We want to shift towards this and this for the next 6 months. And you can also kind of direct, it just helps you with directing the resources and the manpower. And you can also say, okay, JP, we want you to focus more on this. So dashboards just give you a really cool bird's eye view, and it helps you. Honestly, this is all for coordination at the end of the day. And you can also see the recent contributions that are happening really quickly, let's say for the last month or so. So you as a regular individual contributor, you're coming in as a member, you're coming in saying, okay, this, and this is happening. This has happened already. And a lot of the times too, especially because all of us are working on like remote, right? Maybe a lot of us are non. It just gives us a much better way to in real time coordinate with people and follow things as they go. Because at the end of the day too, like a lot of us are in this for the long haul. A lot of us are working for years. So being able to go back and say, okay, this is what happened in 2021. I can have my own list of my own contributions, and I can see the other contributions, and we can use that not just to build upon, but also to direct how things can go in 2024. Like that just becomes extremely powerful. So yeah, that's our dashboard. This is probably one of our favorite features. We're expanding this as well. We're thinking of what and this is what we'd love to hear from you all as well. Like what data points or what graphs will be really well, let's say even more useful. But we can dive into the contributions. So there are two ways to interact with them. We have this panel over here. We also have this little plus sign. And here, wherever you are in the app, you can just hit that and pull up the report contribution tab. And as you can see,
yeah, you could clock this call, for example.
Exactly. So I'll actually do that. And you'll see it's super easy. Usually, let's say it takes maybe an average of 10 seconds. So it's really easy to do, but I'll go through it slow just for just for the sake. So I could say, as an example, Tool House Rock demo. Right. This would be the name of the contribution. This will be what other people see at Bird's Eye View, for example. And then I'll attribute this to Govrn because I'm doing this with Govrn. I'll go back to activity type in a second. Details could be, let's say this happened. So this happened in 2023. Now it's 2026, and I want to just look back at what I did in this particular year. So the details would really be for adding context. So I can say, let's put Schoolhouse Rock. And this could obviously be whatever, but it's really just for adding context. Maybe something specific happened that you wanted to make note of too. And it becomes contextual for you, but also as other people are engaging with your contribution to attest to it, it adds context for them as well. So something like that. And then the activity type, this is the same thing I was talking about earlier with the categorizations. This is where you interact and build the categorizations. And what's interesting too is that, so an example. So let's say this is product demo.
Is the activity type, is it something that you guys predefined or?
That's exactly what I was going to jump on. So this activity type product demo, right, which is usually what I use for demos. I created this. So your entity, your DAO, your sub DAO, whatever, you can actually build a preset set of activity types. And especially like maybe in the beginning, before things evolve, you can say, all right, we want to stick to these 4 activity types. But as new people come in, as the work changes, as things evolve, and anyone, an individual contributor, an individual member can say, actually, what we have preset is useful, but I actually think this product demo activity type will be really useful, really valuable for the work that we're doing. So what that does is I then create this contribution with this activity type. And what that essentially becomes is kind of a proposal, or at least like a mini proposal, right? Where you're saying, hey guys, I actually think this activity type is going to be really valuable. And it creates a conversation around, okay, what direction are we going in? What type of work do we want to do? All of that in real time, just from picking an activity type. And then, the answer could be yes or no. The answer could be, yeah, let's do that. Let's focus on that. And then you continue, you have this created within Govrn, and you continue to build upon that. Or if the answer is no, you just go back to the previous, the presets, right? But that allows you, and again, that's what leads to what you saw on the dashboard, where you're actually following the specific categories in real time. And here you can also say, whether it's a link, let's say I wrote a mirror article, I can put it here. I could also upload attachments and it's put onto IPFS. And then you have the date. A lot of times, for example, especially with some of the more social DAOs, they'll put like a screenshot, like TrueDAO, for example. So then I'll maybe confirm the date, or maybe if I'm doing this for, let's say, I did this last week, but I'm just recording it now, I can put the correct date. But when I'm done, I add contribution. Again, that usually takes like 10 seconds. And here now we see it goes directly to my list of contributions. So this kind of, I hate the word resume, but it does really become a documentary or documentation of the work that you've done. And you can dive into like, the specific task or the categories, right? I mean, I'm not going to go all the way down, but you can see like over time, you can really dive deep into the specific things that you've actually done, which DAO you've done them for. And again, being able to see everything in real time is just such a superpower. And so to dive into this a little bit, we have two kinds of contributions. We have staged and minted, which is just, basically off-chain and on-chain. You can interact with them pretty differently. So let's say I want to mint this. This is already attributed to Govrn, so I don't need to do that. So I can just mint. Also, if I want to, I can bulk mint. Let's say I've done 3 things in the same day, but I'll just do this one. This just explains what what minting is. And actually sorry, one sec. We mint on Gnosis chain. So it's usually really easy. It's always really easy, really quick. And I should have shown you this. Because this is happening in the background, I could have actually clicked out and done whatever I want outside, and it would still, it wouldn't block anything. It would still happen in real time. So now you see it's not there anymore. So now it's in minted. So now these are my minted contributions that I can interact with. And something that's really important too is that, let's look at this one. So for your off-chain contributions, since they're on platform, I can go back and edit it. Say like I did something wrong, or maybe I didn't add details and I should go back and add details. I can update them. And then once it's minted, obviously it's on chain, so you can't go back and edit it. But what this now allows for, now that it's minted, now that it's on chain, I can add attestations to it. So let me show an example. So this is a demo I did for Unvalid, right? You can see there are attestations attached to it. So this is what the interactions look like, where after you've minted a contribution, someone else within your community or someone else within your sub DAO, for example, will go and attest to it. If they have verified that it's actually been done, they will add their attestation to it. And just for fun, this is my minted contribution. So you can always go and verify that. We're gonna add like visualizations and things like that as well. But honestly, just being able to confirm that it's minted, that it's on chain, and the attestations are on chain as well. So this is what you'll see as you're doing your contributions. You can also look at your specific types as well, your categories, and kind of follow, how much of these that you've done. You'll see on mine that I kind of have a lot that are kind of the same thing. That's because I experiment a lot with the different categories. So yours will be a lot cleaner. But yeah, it just really allows you to follow up. You can look at the last time you've done something. What's
a linear issue?
Linear. Oh, so that is. Now I'm glad you asked. So a lot of what we do, this is really easy to use, but we want to continue to make it even more and more easy. So internally at Govrn, we use linear It's basically, it's, you know, a Kanban style project management tool. And that was something we integrated pretty early on, where let's say, you know, you take a task from to do, maybe a to-do box to the done box, or the in progress to done. And as soon as that's done, as soon as you put it into done, that creates a contribution on Govrn. So that's what the linear issue is. That means that's a contribution that came directly from linear. And that integration allows us to, one, interact with different tools. And at the same time, it means that if you're doing something, you know, on a different platform, you don't have to go back or come back and do the same thing on our platform. It's already done. So, and one of the big things that we want to create is this kind of ecosystem of tools where, you know, honestly, wherever work is being done, we want to make sure that is integrated and comes back to Govrn at the end of the day. And what that allows for is, you know, obviously so many different interactions, and being able to build out your contribution graph or your community's contribution graph, even if you're touching other things, even if you're interacting with other things. And we think that's really powerful. So I'll jump into attestations for a bit too. Oh yeah, this is perfect. So let's say, and this is actually kind of a similar thing where you want to attest to multiple things that you've already seen happen. You can bulk attest, or you can attest once. Let me look for a fun one. Aaron, let me see something for yours.
But,
oh, sorry.
Who's here? We would have like a list of the universe of contributors. So if Govrn becomes the most popular app in the world, you would see like the whole Web3 universe, and you could attest to anyone, or how do you?
No, so how that works is, and I'm glad you brought that. That's really important. So for me, I can see the contributions within Govrn because I'm a member of Govrn. I can't see, for example, you know, if someone creates HyperDAO tomorrow and I'm not a part of it, I can't see those attestations because I'm not a part of it. So, and I'll show the settings as well. You can basically
you can see them on chain though, right?
Yes, you can see them on chain.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Just wouldn't
and
clutter your UI. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so you don't want like one have to scroll through a million different things. So I'm just looking for something. Aaron, I don't know how much of these, whatever, we're very transparent. So, okay, so I actually worked on this with Aaron, so I can attest to this. End of month activities, I'll add my attestation to it. And I can click out of that and still confirm it. It's still being minted in the background. Okay, and let's see. There we go. Attestation successful. And then, so in this DAO contributions tab, you'll see the minted contributions from your community, from your DAO, from your sub DAO. Now for my attestations, these are attestations that I've already attested to. So again, given that it's not only your contributions that add to your reputation, or even just the work that you've done, it's also the attestations. Being able to go back and look at your attestations, you know, after a period of time as well, or just in real time, is still really important when you're looking at all these things that are happening. So this is the one I just attested to. Now you'll see my attestation is here. So there are a lot of, it's interesting because, again, this is so simple to use, but if you want, you can interact with so many other different things. You can build so many different things on top of it. It becomes as composable as you want it to be. It becomes as expansive as you want it to be. But this is what this is why we built it as like a foundation or as a building block. And then pretty much once that foundation is there, once that foundation of contributions is there, you can build pretty much anything else on top of it. So, and I'll jump into the verification in a second, but basically what this means is that, let's say, you know, if you already have this contribution graph, if you already have all these contributions with attestations attached to it, and you want to add, say, governance based on those contributions, you can do that. You can do that using Govrn as a foundation. It's something that this is the profile. This is where I interact with the DAOs or sub DAOs I'm already a part of. You can join based on for as people create sub DAOs and communities on platform, and people will be able to join them through here, and I can create my own here as well. But let me go to Dello DAO. Oh, and at the bottom here you'll see our integration, what we already can interact with. Alpha leak Twitter integration coming soon. But yeah, so as I interact with these, I can click, let's say Dello DAO, and go into the DAO dashboard, or I can go back and hit the settings. And admin settings is something we're still trying to tweak and make sure it can be more as decentralized as possible. This is something we're talking to Hats with about as well. So a lot of interesting integrations are coming in the pipeline with Hats. But as of now, you can create a DAO, you can interact with the settings. Here you can change membership. So let's say you obviously probably not good to only have one admin and one person who can interact with settings. So you can make multiple people admin. You can make everyone admin if you want, just so they all have access. But yeah, you can interact with membership here. And again, it just becomes like a flexible way to interact with the community. And this is the kind of the attestation aspect we were talking about as well, the verification framework. So this all comes from this idea of trust frameworks. Trust frameworks are pretty much just mechanisms that communities use to build trust and to maintain trust. And one of the things we're looking at, especially since attestations are a core part of especially bottom-up contributions or contribution interactions, we're building multiple frameworks. We've launched with one framework being number of attesters. But this is essentially how contributions get accepted or get verified within a sub DAO or within a committee, for example. So I can say, all right, number of attesters, let's keep it simple. Let's put it as 1, right? So now it means if you make a contribution to, let's say you make a contribution to the refi committee. Once that contribution is made and minted, you have to have one person attest to it before it becomes accepted, before it becomes verified. And once that verification happens, again, that makes it really interesting too, in terms of, okay, what if we're building governance on top of this, for example, or what if we're building value or some kind of reward on top of this? This allows you to make that even more robust. Or I could say, let's say the community is fairly new, like the sub DAO is fairly new, the community is fairly new, or you've recruited maybe a number of new people, meaning that honestly, like the trust in their work may be fairly low at the time, and you want to make sure that, because they're not trusted contributors yet, you want to make sure that their work is verified first, is maybe even just reviewed first before it gets properly accepted or properly verified. So what you would do, what you could do, and this is say, for example, in those scenarios where you just want to make sure it has enough oversight as possible, or at least enough reviews as possible. You could put it higher. You could put it to maybe 4, for example, or 5, where as that new contributor pushes that contribution up, it has to have the same number of attesters before it's verified. And again, this is just making that interaction more robust and building that trust at the same time. Because then if these new people are continuously getting the attestations, becoming verified, very quickly they can become properly trusted contributors. And this is really just a way of not just, again, the core aspect is just the transparency and the tangibility of seeing and perceiving and grasping the contributions in real time. But you can also add this layer of trust on top of it. so that, you know, as these sub-DAOs evolve, as things expand, as things grow both vertically and horizontally, you can make sure that, you know, whoever's coming in, however big it's growing or however dynamic it's becoming, you can still have this pretty simple layer of trust to kind of ease, maybe, you know, ease tension if that's there, ease the complexity. Because at the end of the day, this is still a very simple way of engaging, or a simple way of confirming or verifying at the end of the day. So it's really just to enhance all these different interactions, especially, and understanding that these communities are dynamic, that they're going to continue to evolve, they're going to change a lot over time, and making sure that these things are as flexible as possible to create and enhance these interactions. See if there's anything else. That's really the long and short of it. What I'll do is, there's a little more in the presentation, but I would definitely want to stop there and look at any questions or things you want to talk about.
I forgot if TrueName has a mic or wants to use a mic. And yeah, this goes back to my ZK, but just to give you a bit of context, something that has been happening in Maker, and it's almost encouraged, I would say, actually even more, you could say that it's one of like the requirement is that people are or at least some of the interactive or interacting I don't know what to call them, entities or people are anonymous. So potentially what I was going through with the ZK is, could you somehow transport all your contributions, or at least the power of your contributions in the past, to some new identity if you need it, without revealing who you were? So it's like, okay, there's I forgot your name, if you're like a new anon, or if you've doxed yourself, I can't remember. And to be honest, I don't want to. I like this anon part where everyone's like a kind of like blank slate, and we're just discussing their ideas. So to a point, I'm kind of excited to see which kind of tools will enable that. So yeah, we can, I think we can go for hours about any ZK governance solutions. But yeah, to go back to TrueName's comment, he said, or they said, it sounds like AVCs could use to track AD participation, where aligned delegates following refi and resiliency AVCs.
Nice.
My question now, without that or with that long introduction, how do you make sure that you don't get, maybe you guys already thought about it, or it's going to be an interesting problem to solve, but how do you make sure that you don't get kind of like spammed, or that you don't get a lot of noise? Usually what we've seen is lower lower-ish contributors usually have like these people that just come and they generate a lot of noise and a lot of I don't know, for example, we were giving DAI for posts and likes in the forum, and we had a ton of people just posting stuff that you're like, dude, are you serious? Like zero value, like, hey, welcome, and just people saying hi and liking each other. And it was funny because the moment that we stopped the spice, they all just left.
Right.
And it's like, okay, finally we have some quiet and peace of mind. So I don't know if if you guys thought about like, okay, this could potentially be like, a lot of people be like, oh, I did a summary, I created a blog post, and I when the actual, I don't know, developer that's on the other side, like, I'm not going to write that I wrote a smart contract. Like, fuck it. If they know, they know. Otherwise, I'm going to the next project. Screw you all. Bye. So I don't know if you guys thought about that, or if you have like any tools or cheats.
Yeah, that honestly, that's a really complex question. Mainly because, so I think most importantly, we we don't want to make any decisions for the specific communities and sub-DAOs, right? We want to make sure that they, like, just like you said, like have the tools as much as possible that they can tweak and maybe gate as they see fit. So there's so many different parts of this, but say for example, you know, there are no recruits there, so sorry, Ashita. just for this example, right? This is, you know, this is DAO is just like a play DAO for the most part. And I can put somebody to recruit. So, and this is kind of an interesting interaction. So say for example, if someone joins your community or your sub DAO, for example, or your committee, you're not adding them, they're joining it yourself, which means, so when they do that, they come in as a recruit. And that does help to kind of reduce the spam aspect. So one, a recruit can't see the dashboard, for the DAO dashboard, until you make them a member, or the community says that they can be a member. And at the same time, a recruit can, they can add a contribution, but, and this is also, again, where the verification frameworks come in. They can add a contribution, but they can't really interact with actual member contributions, which means they also can't attest to them. So what that means is that, one, they can't spam and add all kind of weird things to your community interactions. Let's say they're not accepted yet, or there's someone who just came in, you don't know how they work yet, so you want to, you know, give them a trial period or something, just to make sure that if their work is bad, it's not difficult to kind of change that relationship. And then also what that allows is, if you have this verification framework, that means that, again, that work won't be, like, if they're adding contributions, that work won't be verified until someone actually attests to it. So these kind of like tweaks basically that allow you to basically gate and stop spam from coming in a way that's particularly disruptive. And then there was another part of your question. There was like something really specific. I'm trying to remember what it was related to the spam aspect.
Yeah, maybe how do you make sure that the contribution that you're actually making, because the hack that I see is that because you're not answering to someone, so you're not answering to the token holders being like, hey, we need, I don't know, a website done. It's more like, hey, I did a website, and it's like, dude, no one asked for that. That's completely useless, or that's super useful. Thank you. How did we not see that? So how do you deal with that? And I don't know if you have an answer, to be honest. It's more like governance issues and.
Right. It's super abstract and super complex. And again, this is going to be something that even within the various sub-DAOs, the answer is going to be different. It's kind of super dependent on specific needs. And even, for example, the level of what a contribution is, like whether it's something that's anything that's even really tiny, or maybe just very significant things, that's usually set by the community. That's like the community usually agrees to, okay, this counts as a contribution. Like if you finish a project, or even did something that contributed to the project or added to the project, but attending a meeting does not count as a contribution. That would be something that you do just kind of collectively, you kind of set. We're thinking a lot and talking a lot and getting a lot of feedback on different kind of layers and levels to that aspect as well. But right now that is more of a social thing, for lack of a better word. But to a related point as well, something that we've actually seen happen in real time, and now we talk about it to other communities, is that what becomes really interesting, because even in general, recording your own contributions, you don't want it to lead to spam. You don't want confusion over, again, what counts as a contribution and what doesn't. And even, some people may forget to do it. I'm just looking at the time. Are we I know we started late, so do you want to, how should we do this? Or should I just finish the question?
No, it's up to you, Sean.
Oh, okay. I'll just finish this real quick. I know we can talk about this all day. but even in terms of like, oh, someone may forget to record, or we only want to record like once a week or something like that. Like you want to go into everything at one time. What's really useful is actually to create these kind of rituals, basically, where everyone comes together, maybe a specific time during the week or something. And it becomes this kind of like, I like to call it like a campfire ritual, where you're coming together just to kind of tell your story, where all of you are recording your contributions maybe for the past week or maybe for the past 2 weeks together at the same time. And what that allows for is not just making sure that it happens, but also you can also attest to each other's work at the same time. And that just builds the sense of trust, because you're seeing in real time what people are putting together, what people are recording, what people are like, who's attesting to it because they saw it as well. So it's just a really cool exercise to, one, make sure this work gets recorded, two, build trust in real time, and also kind of build a sense of pride in the work that you've already done. So we find that to be really interesting. But yeah, I will very quickly, one second. Jump into this as well. And we've already talked about this, being able to manage contributions for the MakerDAO as a whole, and also specific sub DAOs.
You're not sharing your screen, Stefan.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thought it was. Yeah, so in reference to Andy, being able to manage your contributions for maybe the MakerDAO as a whole, or for a specific sub DAO, all on Govrn. And this is actually something we really want to work with you all really closely on and continue to build this out. I think if we can, we're super down to build this out specifically for Maker, or at least for the MakerDAO's needs, where you can have these multi-attributable contributions, where it's like maybe something that you've done or you're doing is very useful for a particular sub DAO or a particular committee, and it's also like but you also want to make sure the entire MakerDAO as a whole can interact with it. So that's what we're building out now. And again, in terms of the verification frameworks, again, they allow you to kind of scale and grow and be dynamic in a more decentralized way. And then contribution tracking. So contribution tracking really is a foundation or building block for contribution-based governance, being able to actually build governance with the actual work that's being done, and not just necessarily the tokens and the token amounts. So implementing this kind of governance structure does reduce the desire to hoard tokens. So that kind of helps with the token concentration aspect a bit as well. Yeah, and then next steps, what we actually did, we added instances for the AVCs and the CVCs. Think we got all of them onto Govrn, so that anyone who wants to join like today can jump on and automatically join and interact and start recording their contributions to it. And definitely hit us up for other sub DAOs, and to set specific frame, like maybe the verification framework, for example. But most importantly, try it out, play around with it. Let us know if you have any questions. Join specific, join one of the ABCs, CBCs if that's relevant. Join the MakerDAO. We have a MakerDAO there as well. Do the profile page, record a contribution, and see how that feels, and let us know how it feels. And if you want to set up a proper onboarding session, we have our Calendly here as well. We can put this in the chat too.
Perfect. Yeah, Aaron just did. I was wondering if you guys have well, first of all, if there's a preferred method to reach out, if there's any, I don't know, any questions or any doubts or any onboarding.
Yeah. So challenge. What we'll do. Yeah, you can. I think the probably easiest way is to join our Discord. 1 second.
And the other question I had,
sure.
Do you guys have like a one pager to share with the AVC, so that they see, like, they quickly see the value and they potentially can start using it? Or
yeah, we have.
We can tell them to go through this like hour-long call, but might be less efficient.
Aaron, you got that?
Yeah. Feel free to.
Okay,
so
perfect.
I'd say to go like go check out our docs. If you go to our link, if you go to govrn.io, you'll go to a link
Yeah.
tree where you can see a link to our docs. That's probably the best place. Other than that, I would recommend following us on Twitter. And we'll send over a 1-pager for you to send to the full community.
Yeah,
And
perfect.
yeah, really excited to be here. This is awesome.
Great. So yeah, thank you guys for being with us. This has been great. We'll enjoyed seeing your product and how much it's evolved in the last couple of months.
For sure.
But yeah, thanks again.
Thanks, Juan.
Thanks, guys.
Have a nice one.
Appreciate it.